Prepare to get covered in blood as we explore themes of destiny, sacrifice, and demons in my review after 100% for Nights of Azure. Nights of Azure is an action RPG developed by Gust. Now they're a niche Jrpg developer most known for the Atelier series. It was published by Koei Tecmo and released on the PS3, PS4, Vita, and PC starting in 2015. In the story, the citizens of the kingdom of Ruswal won't dare leave their homes after dark. At night, a legion of monsters descend upon the land, discouraging all but the most brave, or maybe the most foolish, from walking the streets at night. One who dares to trek into the dark is Arnis, a half-demon knight charged with defending Ruswal from the unholy army and stopping the Night Lord's plans. We soon learn that the only way to end this perpetual nightmare is for Arnis' old friend, a priestess named Lilith, to seal away the evil lord through self-sacrifice. At its core, the world and the building romance between Arnis and Lilith are promising. It's a tale of two young women forced to accept cruel fates, where one prepares to become a martyr as the other slowly succumbs to a demonic corruption, wrestling with her waning humanity and newfound hunger for human flesh. The story is far darker than I would have expected, exploring themes of love and loss. And hopefully the story clicks with you, since throughout, you'll spend a fair amount of time with non-interactive dialogue and story scenes, with only occasional decisions. Outside of these story scenes, you have main story quests, side quests, and a battle arena where you can take on various challenges to earn rewards. The hotel acts as your hub, and the world is made up of a series of zones that you'll revisit regularly. You'll be on the hunt for various items. Re-exploring the world can sometimes get you exactly what you're looking for, but it's a crapshoot, so it may be tough trying to get something specific. You can get items at the shops, but they don't restock often, so what do? Well, you can send off a merchant ship to explore different parts of the world, and bring back treasures from their visited lands. When not out venturing, you can plan the idle activities of your party members, so depending on which day quests you do, and what activities you told them to engage in previously, you'll unlock additional activities for them to perform. Through these activities, you'll earn spendable trade points that are used to unlock new perks, such as extending the time that you can be in demon form, and adding additional decks for your creatures, which I'll talk about in a bit. Throughout the quests, you'll fight against hordes and hordes of monsters in real-time combat, using light and heavy attacks as well as special attacks that allow you to build up combo chains. You can roll, dodge, and block to keep yourself alive. There's an overall nice flash and visual polish to the effects of the combat. If you get wiped out in battle, you're just sent back to the hotel without much of a penalty. Despite being a force to be reckoned with, Arnis is not alone in her fight. No, you can have up to 4 demons known as servants fighting alongside you. You'll collect a library of servants over time that will all have different traits. Some will dish out pain fighting enemies, others are sponges soaking up damage, and yet others will cast healing, and there's quite a bit more. Which ones you have out at a time is up to you. You can set up to 4 teams and simply call out which team is best for the situation. You're free to call and dismiss them as much as you want, but it will cost you some SP that regenerates fairly quickly over time. As you battle your way through the enemies collecting their blood, you'll eventually charge up your demon transformation gauge. Once you activate it, you'll go full demon on your enemies for a short time, absolutely wrecking shop. There are a handful of different demon forms you can take depending on the makeup of your servant team. So, the fire manipulation damage dealing demon is the default if you fail to have at least 10 transformation points for one of the other forms. The rabbit is the speed demon who's great at melee combat. The phantom form turns you into a great magical sharpshooter, and the armor form makes you a beefy tank, just gobbling up damage. Now there is another form, but I won't spoil that one for you here. On top of your team customization, you actually have several weapon types you can freely choose between after you unlock them. It's a lot of fun to quickly switch between weapons on the fly, particularly against the nasty explosive monsters. The game world is divided into various locations to visit on the island map. Each location is linked to at least one other location, meaning you have to explore a region until you find an exit to the next region. Quite often, you're prevented from moving forward by a gate that'll require you to progress the story enough before you can pass through it. Visually, the environments are quite varied, which is a good thing because you'll be revisiting them often to complete optional quests. As you progress, the levels become larger and will take longer to explore. As you explore around, you'll discover new sub-levels, as well as the occasional hotel doorway, which acts as a fast travel point. Exploration is rewarded with plenty of chests scattered throughout that contain items, money, blood, yes blood, and HP or SP restorative bottles. Each time you revisit the levels, the chests respawn for the most part, and so there's this nice little incentive to revisit areas more than once. One thing to keep in mind is, as you explore, there's a time limit. This dictates how long you can stay outside of the hotel. Since the monsters you're fighting only appear at night, you must return when the sun rises and they vanish. You start with only a 15-minute timer to explore. However, you can increase that time by spending trade points. Additionally, you can return to the hotel at any time you want by selecting that option in the menu, or by visiting one of the magic hotel doors. So long as you spend enough time outside the hotel, your daytime activities mentioned earlier will be credited and completed even if you're forced out early. Okay, I mentioned this a few times, but let's talk about the blood. It's a big deal in this game, so it deserves a mention here. Demons have blue blood, and it's that blood that contaminated the island and transformed innocent people, animals, and apparently objects into creatures of the night. As you battle your enemies, you collect their blood. How much you get isn't really determined by the size of the monsters per se, although bosses are pretty big and pretty filled with blood. It is instead determined by how much of a killing spree you're on. The higher your attack chain gets, the more bonus blood you get. Your servant's attacks also help to contribute to this chain score, so your goal is to keep this chain up as high as possible for as long as possible. It's best to have a long-range servant available to help attack the next batch of enemies sooner in order to maintain that chain. If you go too long without attacking anything, it resets back to 0. So you definitely don't want to rest for too long after wiping out a group of enemies. Now you may be asking, why do you want all this blood? Well, as a half-demon, Arnis thirsts for blood. Blood also serves as currency. Additionally, blood may be used as an offering to increase Arnis's level. Your servants gain levels as well through the use of a traditional experience system. If they're equipped to one of your decks, even if they're not in battle, they'll gain experience points. The higher they get, the better they get. They can even unlock passive traits that increase the entire team rather than just themselves, which is pretty damn cool. Every other level or so, the game gives you a choice between 2 possible upgrades for them. You can also boost servants further by using certain items on them, which will permanently modify their stats a limited number of times. You just need to be a little strategic when planning your team and their upgrades. Now let's talk about the equipment in the game. There's a ton of it. You can change equipment for Arnis and each servant to give various buffs or passive abilities. For example, equipping a vampire bat allows for more blood to be collected per kill. Each piece of equipment has its main default passive ability that's gained by equipping it. The other stats that impact are usually quite random, meaning it's entirely possible to have 10 of one item and none of them being identical. You're able to carry 250 items at a time, and it's pretty forgiving when you get overloaded. The game simply makes you sell some of the items you've collected when you went out adventuring that day, and let you keep whatever's left. No annoying over-encumbered status like in so many other RPGs. I like being a pack rat, collecting everything I need without being forced to drop anything or lose valuable pocket change. Okay, let's talk about the visuals. It's clear this is not a AAA game. However, it does really well with the budget it has. The character models all contain a high level of detail with many subtle bits of flair, which truly enhance the visual appeal. Though I'd say the animations can feel pretty stiff, especially in the cutscenes. While there is a fair share of fan service, it's not overly reliant on it, and fits well within the Yuri love story. The enemies in this game come in all different shapes and sizes, and while some are just recolors of other enemies, they're all modified with their own skill sets for the most part. The environments themselves have plenty of detail to keep visuals enjoyable, and there are unique touches and accents throughout each level to make them feel more alive. like how the breakable objects change for each area to match their surroundings. There's also plenty of effects to help make each place interesting to visit. For completionists, anyone looking to get all the trophies, it's a relatively easy process. However, there will be a bit of grinding towards the end. There aren't any missable trophies, so just play through and enjoy the game and the story at your own pace, and then do some cleanup when you get to the end. All in, it took me about 40 hours. There's a lot of interesting things throughout that I could just go on and on about, from the new dialogue with NPCs between the chapters, to mysterious letters that you can get at the hotel desk, to the changing moon phases, to the cupcake subplot. But I won't go into too much detail because discovering the world for yourself is part of the fun. If you enjoy games with a fairly rich plot that spends a decent amount of time on exposition, such as the Atelier series, then you should enjoy this game's storytelling style. The combat is flashy, varied, and fun throughout. I always look forward to heading out to hunt more monsters, and really liked mixing, matching, and upgrading my servants. The game's visual style is quite appealing, and while the characters only speak Japanese, the game has enough charm that it captivated me. Overall, I really dug this game, and I suspect if the footage looks interesting to you, you'll probably dig it too. If you like this video, hit like and of course subscribe, and if you want more of my thoughts, check out my video right here. I want to thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.